No one at the small-town veterinary clinic could have imagined what was about to happen that night. A German shepherd was rushed in, panting heavily, ready to give birth. The staff prepared for a large litter, but nothing could have prepared them for what followed. One by one, tiny newborns entered the world, 10, then 12, then 15. The exhausted mother lay still, surrounded by life. But as the vet leaned closer, his smile faded. Something was wrong. The pups didn't look like normal dogs. Their features were unusual, their cries unlike any the team had heard before. The room fell silent as realization struck. These weren't ordinary puppies. And what they truly were would leave everyone in shock. It was late evening when the clinic doors burst open. A worried man rushed inside, cradling his German shepherd by the leash. The dog was panting heavily, her sides heaving, eyes wide with distress. "She's going into labor," he gasped, his voice trembling. Nurses immediately sprang into action, clearing a space in the delivery room while the vet prepared his instruments. Her breathing was ragged, her body trembling with exhaustion, but her instincts were stronger than her weakness. The staff knew it would be a large litter. She was visibly heavy, but no one could have imagined just how many lives were about to enter the world that night. The first puppy arrived within minutes. Tiny and wet, squeaking weakly. Then another followed, and another. The clinic filled with the sounds of newborn cries, the staff moving quickly to clean and warm each one. The man's eyes widened as the count rose higher and higher. 5, 7, 10. The vet exchanged astonished glances with the nurses, their excitement tinged with disbelief. By the time the 12th puppy was delivered, the room buzzed with energy. But the night was far from over. The exhausted shepherd pushed on, her body trembling with every contraction, while the vet guided each new life safely into the world. The staff worked tirelessly, cleaning, drying, and placing the tiny bodies in soft blankets. The air was filled with the high-pitched cries of newborns, a chorus that echoed through the small clinic. 13. A nurse whispered in amazement, carefully cradling the newest arrival. The owner, pacing in the corner, could hardly believe his eyes. Most dogs delivered litters of 5 or 6, sometimes 8, but 15? This was extraordinary. His faithful companion, whom he had raised from a pup, had given him a miracle beyond imagination. The vet smiled despite the long, tense hours. "She's strong," he said, running a hand gently along the mother's flank. The shepherd, though drained, lifted her head to glance at her pups. Her eyes were heavy, yet pride glimmered in them. One by one, the puppies nestled against her, searching for warmth and milk. The room was alive with joy and wonder. Nurses snapped photos, the owner wiped away tears, and even the weary vet allowed himself a chuckle. It seemed like a night of pure celebration, but as the bustle calmed, the vet leaned closer to the newborns. His smile slowly faded. Something wasn't right. As the puppies nestled closer to their exhausted mother, the clinic's atmosphere softened. The owner knelt by the table, his face glowing with pride. But the vet, experienced and meticulous, could not ignore the uneasy feeling stirring inside him. He leaned over the litter, his eyes narrowing to a first glance. They seemed healthy, tiny bodies wriggling, voices squeaking. Yet the more he studied them, the more details unsettled him. Their ears were slightly different, shorter than normal pups. Their paws, though delicate, seemed unusually shaped. And their cries, sharp, almost piercing, echoed strangely in the sterile room. It wasn't the soft whimper of newborn dogs. It carried an odd tone that made the hairs on his arms stand up. The nurses noticed too. One frowned as she wrapped a puppy in a towel. "Doctor, look at this one," she whispered, holding it up. Its eyes, though barely open, gleamed with a peculiar brightness. Another nurse shook her head. "They don't look like German Shepherd pups. At least, not fully." The vet forced a calm expression, not wanting to alarm the owner, but inside his mind raced. He had delivered countless litters, but never had he seen puppies quite like these. Something about them was different, very different, and soon, that difference would reveal itself in a way no one expected. The room, once filled with laughter and relief, grew strangely quiet. The owner was still beaming, gently stroking the tired mother's head, but the vet's face had changed. He leaned closer to the litter, his gloved fingers tracing over their tiny features with growing unease. He picked up one of the pups, cradling it under the light. Its fur was darker, glossier than he expected for a newborn shepherd. Its legs twitched as it wriggled, but the structure of its paws seemed unusual. The nails were longer, sharper, almost claw-like. His brow furrowed as he glanced at another. Its ears twitched, but their angle and shape didn't match what he knew by heart. The unease spread to the staff, their smiles fading into whispers. "Doctor, these don't look right," a nurse muttered. Another nodded, clutching her clipboard. "They're not behaving like puppies either. They're too alert." The vet finally straightened, his face pale, his heartbeat pounding in his chest. He hesitated, searching for the right words, then turned to the anxious owner. "I need to be honest with you," he said quietly. These aren't normal dogs." The room froze. Everyone stared at the wriggling newborns, their strange cries cutting through the silence. Something extraordinary, perhaps even terrifying, was unfolding before their eyes. The owner's smile faded, replaced by a furrowed brow. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice tight. The vet didn't answer right away. Instead, he carefully placed two of the newborns side by side under the examination lamp. The light revealed details that could no longer be ignored. Their eyes, though barely opened, glowed faintly with a strange, amber sheen. Their ears, sharper and more triangular than shepherd pups, flicked with uncanny precision. And their paws, larger, more angular, were tipped with claws that glistened under the light. Even their cries had a wildness to them, raw and untamed, echoing more like the whine of something feral that a nurse gasped softly, pressing a hand to her mouth. They look like wolf cubs," she whispered. The vet nodded grimly. "Not just look. Genetically, these are not pure dogs. Their traits are too strong to ignore. This litter is part wolf." The room fell into stunned silence. The owner's eyes widened as he stared at the 15 tiny lives wriggling before him. "But how? She's never been near a wolf." The vet placed a calming hand on his shoulder. "Somewhere, somehow, nature made its choice. This isn't an accident. It's rare, but it's real." What had begun as a routine delivery was now something extraordinary, an event that blurred the line between domestic life and the untamed. Wild, news of the extraordinary birth spread quickly. By the next morning, the small clinic was surrounded by curious neighbors, reporters, and animal experts eager to glimpse the litter that had stunned everyone. Cameras flashed as the exhausted mother lay curled protectively around her 15 pups, their tiny bodies wriggling in unison. What had once been a quiet, routine clinic had become the center of a story that would soon make headlines worldwide. Veterinarians from nearby towns rushed in, eager to study the newborns. Tests confirmed what the first vet already knew. These weren't ordinary dogs. Their features, their genetics, even their behaviors suggested something far rarer, a cross between domestic shepherd and wild wolf. Scientists called it a miracle of nature, a genetic fluke few ever witnessed. The owner, still overwhelmed, sat by the kennel, his hand resting gently on the mother's head. "I just wanted her to be safe," he whispered. Now he found himself caretaker of not just puppies, but a living mystery. The mother, though exhausted, licked her pups with fierce devotion, her eyes gleaming with pride as though she knew her children were extraordinary. Media outlets hailed the event as unbelievable. Some called it a scientific marvel, others a gift of fate. But for the owner, it was far simpler. Looking at the 15 tiny lives that now filled his home with sound and energy, he realized his world would never be the same. What began as fear and confusion ended in awe. The puppies were not ordinary dogs, but they were his family. And in their cries, their play, and their wild spirit, he saw something incredible. A reminder that even in the ordinary, nature still hides miracles waiting to be discovered.